My dad, Fred Calvin Knowles, was born October 9th, 1939, in Blackfoot, Idaho. He and his mom and siblings moved around a lot because his father James was in and out of military hospitals, and his mom Margaret was the oldest of 14 siblings, so she was frequently needed back home to help her mother, Nellie Brown. Dad grew up around many aunts, uncles, cousins, and eventually stepdads after his father died when he was 8 years old. When Dad was about 10, he and the whole clan packed up everything into an old army truck and moved to the Yakima, Washington area so that they could pick beer hops for money.
There were a tremendous amount of hop fields around the Yakima Valley, okay? And hops were something that were particularly easy for families to work and make money at, because large families like ours, we had a lot of hands because we had a lot of kids.
His grandma and grandpa Brown bought a house on an acre of land, and he and his extended family moved into it and affectionately called it the acre.
The house didn't have it had indoor electricity, but it didn't have indoor plumbing, or it didn't have any bath facilities or washrooms or anything like that. Okay?
Wow.
We immediately planted, every kind of vegetable you could think of that you need to survive.
Dad said his experience growing up was very similar to The Grapes of Wrath, one of his favorite books and movies. Despite being initially good at athletics, Dad eventually dropped out of high school, worked at a canning factory, and got in a lot of local brawls. He was strongly encouraged to join the Air Force to get back on track. When he did, he became a radar operator and worked on some of the very first mainframe computers up in Labrador, Greenland. Dad met and married his first wife, Sandra, and they proceeded to have 5 kids within about 10 years. That was a lot of mouths to feed, so they moved to Illinois to stay with Dad's in-laws and help make ends meet. After Dad's first marriage fell apart, he met my mom, Catherine, who was fresh out of college and working as a punch card operator at the Play School Company in Chicago. Dad was the computer systems manager, which at the time meant he was in charge of all the punch card operations. Mom and Dad fell in love and ditched their dates one New Year's Eve to take a bus and go up to the top of the John Hancock building. They soon married, and eventually Mom gave Dad an ultimatum and convinced him to quit drinking and smoking. When I was born, Dad took advantage of a second chance at parenting and was a very loving and devoted father to me. Dad also enjoyed getting to know his grandchildren as his older children began to have kids of their own. One professional highlight for Dad was an opportunity he had to work on a project in Taiwan in the mid-80s. Dad racked up numerous frequent flyer miles traveling back and forth, which allowed us to take a fun family vacation to Hawaii. Dad eventually fell on hard economic times when the rise of the personal computer made his job less necessary. Dad wasn't able to continue working in the computer field, but he did everything he could to help contribute, taking on newspaper routes and factory assembly jobs and helping with pickups and drop-offs so that my mom could go back to work full-time. He did his best to help ensure that I had an enjoyable time growing up. Despite loving my mom and me and his family in Illinois, Dad always spoke of wanting to return to the West Coast someday. After my mom became sick with ALS and they separated and she died, the opportunity arose for Dad to take a trial run at moving out to the San Francisco Bay Area to be closer to me and his granddaughter Samantha. Dad enjoyed meeting our California family and friends at Samantha's 3rd birthday party and also got to see some of the sights of San Francisco. However, Dad never really stopped missing my mom, and I think having finally achieved his goal of coming out here, he was ready to leave this life. Dad died peacefully and unexpectedly in his sleep on June 16, 2018.
My song is love. Love to the loveless shore, and it goes up. You don't have to be alone. Your heavy heart is made of stone, and it's so hard to see clearly. You don't have to be on your own. You don't have to be on your own. And I'm not gonna take it back, and I'm not gonna say I don't mean that. You're the target that I'm aiming at, and I get that message home. My song is love. My song is love unknown, and I'm on fire for you. Clearly, you don't have to be alone. You don't have to be on your own. And I'm not gonna take it back, and I'm not gonna say I don't mean that. You're the target that I'm aiming at, and I'm nothing on my own. Got to get that message home. And I'm not gonna stand and wait. Not gonna leave it until it's much too late. Oh, on a platform, I'm gonna stand and say that I'm nothing on my own. And I love you, please come home. My song is love unknown, and I've got to get that message home.
Things off here in the fourth.